Ben, before we talk to our next guest, I just want an update on the story. Now, you would have known last week someone posted on the interwebs a picture of a room at Auckland University that said reserved basically for Pasifika and Maori students. And that kicked off an absolute maelstrom. I think Winston Peters called Auckland University, he said it was like the Ku Klux Klan. Though last time I looked, the Ku Klux Klan never ran a university. And Ben, we sent Ben off to try and get to the bottom of it. And geez, you've had some fun with this. So firstly, they come back, didn't they, Ben? They said, we've taken the sign down.
Yeah, well, I mean, the first striking thing was it took them 3 days to put together a press release, essentially, about the whole thing. And, during that period, they'd told me, you should know the sign has been taken down. But then the press
Which indicated
release,
that they agreed with the outrage.
It indicated that they'd done some sort of, bottom-up feedback, and they'd gone, we'll take a look at what this is all about. And then the press release came out, and they said, actually, we're really proud of it all, and it's fantastic, and it's a legacy thing. And so my next question to them was, well, if you're so proud of it, why did the sign get taken down upon our first inquiry? And they actually came back to me over the weekend and said it was taken down because we were putting the Maori translation of Maori and Pasifika only on it, and now we're putting it back up.
So they've made it a bilingual sign now. I wonder if they've done it in rainbow colours.
Well, I mean, that could be.
I wonder if they've done it in rainbow colours. So first they put it up, then they take it down, and that's an indication we think they realise it's wrong, and then they put it back up again bilingually. Boy, is that going to get pictures taken of it on campus. Some students have come out and said it's a great idea. But one person and a political party, besides Winston Peters, who called it the KKK, one person who's come out and said it isn't good is former National, now ACT-list MP and alumni of Auckland University, Parmjeet Parmar MP. And Parmjeet, does she join us now or I've got it? No, you've got it. Thank you. And Parmjeet joins us on the line now. Welcome to the platform. Nice to have you with us.
Hello, Sean. Thank you.
All right. You finished your PhD at Auckland, didn't you?
I did.
All right. Was that done with safe spaces where Indian PhD students, female Indian PhD students only were allowed?
I didn't see any sign like that when I was there. I was in School of Biological Sciences, and also when I did my postdoc in the optometry and vision science, I didn't see any signs like that.
Look, there have been arguments that I have read that many institutions, many educational institutions do provide spaces or safe spaces for specific groups of people. In theory, do you disagree with that, or should everywhere be a safe space?
So, Sean, when I saw a picture of the sign, I was actually quite disturbed because to me it looked like segregation on the basis of race. And as the spokesperson for tertiary education and skills, it's my job to critically examine things in tertiary education providers and question or challenge things which I think are not acceptable. So this sign, as you've said, some people have also said that has been there for a number of years, this kind of practice. But if something has existed for a number of years, doesn't mean it becomes right. So we cannot validate just because it has been there for a number of years.
You say precedence and current practice is no indication of, correctness or rightness.
That's right, exactly. So, we cannot validate anything to be true only because it has been happening for a number of years. Because if we look at human history, there are so many things we thought was acceptable. Then came the point where we thought it's not acceptable and we changed what that norm should be. An example is like the women's right to vote, and then the other example is civil union, and then same-sex marriages. So things which at one point felt they are societal norms, we realized they were not acceptable and we changed them. And this is something that we should not continue with. Anything that is based on race on any campus is not acceptable because we are segregating students on the basis of their race.
So you're just saying on that, it fails at that very fundamental level, the idea that your race, and to put it more bluntly, the colour of your skin, can be a barrier to doing something is, to your mind, just a principle that you've got to stand by? We can't let that happen anywhere.
That's right, because what we are doing is we are preparing these students to become future, engineers, doctors, and our leaders. And how are we preparing them to face the reality of this world? Because when they graduate, after they have graduated, they will be working with people, those who will be coming from all walks of life. And are we preparing these students to face that? And some of these students might want to go overseas, gain some overseas experience, and bring that experience back. So they won't have the ability to deal with people, those who come from different races. And in my view, this is something really important we need to look into. And it also reflects the values of universities here, because one of the values that I think is very important is the value of being inclusive. And to me, the sign doesn't reflect that value, which is a concern.
Okay. Look, I read a piece by a final year PhD student in medicine at Auckland University, published in Newsroom over the weekend. And if you're concerned about these signs, you should be concerned about this piece, Parmjeet. It basically said that to address disparate outcomes in health for Maori and Pacific Islanders, we must no longer take advice or have policy driven by people who aren't Maori or Pacific Islanders. Does that concern you? Is that a continuation of this, I guess, critical race theory that Auckland University seems to practice?
That's right. So these kind of spaces, when they're created on the basis of race, my view is that it sends negative messages at so many levels. First is it creates that feeling of fear for students that something wrong can happen anytime. So that's why they need these special spaces. Second is that it creates that sense of otherness, which we should take note of, rather than the sense of unity and celebrating diversity. And then, in my view, it also enforces stereotyping. And that's why I think these kind of spaces should not exist. And if these kind of spaces are required, if somebody argues that, then my question is, what are we trying to cover up?
Yeah, and there's something wrong with the system if we're not tolerant enough to have everyone treated the same, aren't we?
Exactly. And so what are we trying to cover up here? If the issue is so big on any campus, this issue of racism, that there are other reasons for that, they need to be addressed. And by just creating a separate space for Maori and Pasifika students, we are not addressing that root cause. So there are more questions to be asked in this regard.